it. I 100% agree with this statement. In fact, you should be the one to study it. You should write a whole paper on it and have it turned in by the end of class in order to graduate.
No disrespect, but to me, and I'm sure many others, you're just an internet personality. That's all. Not some historical figure, and not the main protagonist, as you may say. This is not a hate video. I just felt like this was a good opportunity to take a look at your career on the internet and see where exactly things went wrong. Basically having a conversation with my viewers that doesn't require much of a response. With all that being said, this is the downfall of Heavily Controller.
That's why I'm like, when people try to talk to me, it's like, I don't think y'all understand how much I read. I'm smarter than all you niggas. Like, you know, most people who've never read a single book, it's like, I literally just do that. Like, even to this day, it's not your fault that you're stupid. You were just misinformed. Because for a lot of people, their foundation of their ego is based on what they know. And so if they find out that the things that they know aren't true, instead of trying to find the truth, they'd rather gravitate to the thing that maintains their ego. People call me a narcissist sometimes, but I just feel like for me, I've always just felt like I just know more than everybody, but it wasn't even like I believed it by default. I would test it, you know what I'm saying? And like I would put it to the test. I would perform the scientific method. And I'm like, okay, if every time I test my intellect against another person, I end up agreeing more with my information, I'm gonna trust my information more until proven otherwise.
If you've ever interacted with the anime gaming or anime community as a whole, you've probably come across the name Heavily Controller, a nappy-headed and energetic creator who seemed to have no care in the world about how he was viewed. He just loved three things: video games, anime, and women. A culmination of all these things will ultimately lead to the downward spiral of his reputation. Now, I'm not gonna act like I was an avid viewer of Heavenly. I was hardly ever that, but I would see his videos pop up on occasion around 2016, 2017. As he interacted with other creators I watched on a regular, like the late Etika, who he cites as a genuine friend, these interactions will cause me to go down the rabbit hole. And his story is nothing short of controversial. So Heavenly, aka Anthony's story, starts in Long Beach, California, where he was born and raised. Growing up as the only male child of 4, Anthony heavily gravitated to masculine interests. Growing up in a pretty strict home, he gives all the credit to his cousin for introducing him to anime like Dragon Ball Z, Bleach, even Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I did have a cousin that he didn't live very close, but every time he came over, he would always put me onto more stuff. So he put me on to, he was the first person to put me on to anime. He put me on to Dragon Ball Z. He had the whole collection in like VHS. And I was like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. Put me on to Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Bleach. And back then, when I was a kid, like when I was like 8, 9, 10, I wasn't allowed to watch Bleach because it was on Adult Swim and they cursed.
In 2012, Heavily Controller launched his first YouTube channel, which he named to complement his self-declared flawless gaming skills. Just like all beginners, he received little to no views, but he would continue this as a hobby up until he went to college. Around 2016, Heavily uploaded gameplay videos on a popular anime fighting game that had just been released at the time, Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. Naruto was the first anime to really stick out to Heavenly, and the relatability of Naruto resonated with him.
But what really got me into anime, honestly, was Naruto. For one, it wasn't on like Adult Swim, so I was allowed to watch it. Like from the first episode, I was immediately, it was like, this kid, he had no friends and he would just pull pranks to get people's attention. And I was like, this is literally me.
In some of his gameplay videos, he showcased various character mods, which made for a better overall gaming experience. And to his surprise, his first modding video exploded, getting over 100,000 views. He would see the success and flooded the algorithm with similar content from games like Dragon Ball Xenoverse, laying the foundation for his channel.
I made my first account in 2012. Nobody ever watched. I never expected anybody to care. It was literally just, I was just throwing stuff out. I started modding Naruto Storm 4, and the first video I put out, and at the time I was getting maybe like 50 views, 100 views. Like if I got 1,000 views, I was like, that video went viral to me. So I put out that video, didn't have a lot of subscribers at the time, maybe like 1,500 subscribers or something. And that video got 100,000 views in like 2 days. And so when I saw that happen, I was like, well, if I could do that shit once, I could do that shit again. So I was like, let me reverse engineer why this happened, the science behind it.
Online persona known as Heavily Controller gained more popularity, Anthony would see that carry over into his personal life, with fans of the channel often approaching him to take pictures. Being a college student in his early 20s, Heavily realized how lucrative of a hobby content creation had become and proceeded to take it more seriously.
Even before college, I was making videos. Like I made my first account in 2012 and nobody ever watched. I never expected anybody to care. It was literally just, I was just throwing stuff out.
Right.
And then I started modding Naruto Storm 4. And the first video I put out, and at the time I was getting maybe like 50 views, 100 views. Like if I got 1,000 views, I was like, that video went viral to me.
Right.
And so I put out that video, didn't have a lot of subscribers at the time, maybe like 1,500 subscribers or something. And that video got 100,000 views in like 2 days. And
oh, wow.
So when I saw that happen, I was like, well, if I could do that shit once, I could do that shit again.
After seeing other creators hop on a reaction wave of the mid-2010s, he then transitioned into reaction content, dropping videos on popular games and anime, as well as TV shows and comics. This change in approach would turn out to be the best risk he ever took, catapulting his money and status in the online world to another level. So much so that even after graduating college with a degree in linguistics, Heavily decided to pursue a full-time career in content creation. Within a year's span, Heavily Controller's channel went from a little over 200,000 subs in March of 2018 to about 500,000 in May of 2019. Around this time period, he ran 4 channels, not being as consistent on some of them, but he would switch gears as he pleased. Heavenly also had a podcast called The Heavenly Podcast, where he brought friends on like Afro Senju and Long Beach Griffey, 2 important creators in his story that I'll get into later on. I think he and Afro, more so Afro, were the first ones I've seen do the highly edited anime intro with trap music in the background, then the whole community followed suit. Just a thought. The newfound fame and wealth comes everything you could ask for and more. As Heavenly's community grew a cult-like following around the 600,000 to 800,000 mark, so did his potential for more opportunities. He collaborated with Viz Media themselves to promote Tokyo Ghoul, and would be recognized by his followers at various conventions like DreamCon, EVO, and Anime Expo.
Well, I'm super used to it now. I feel like I'm completely detached from the whole thing. So like, I just understand it. So like, I'm not gonna feel bad or anything like that. Like I legitimately have like, I'm kind of like media trained myself at this point. I already can tell what kind of person I'm interacting with. I can tell if someone's nervous. Like a lot of times I ask them, do you want to take a picture? Because a lot of them do, but they don't want to feel like they're imposing on me, but I know that they want one. Because they're starstruck, they suddenly don't know how to use their phone. So I'm just like, all right, do you want me to take it? Like I have a long arm. I just kind of speed run the process. Like I already know all the questions or I know all the conversation points. So I bring them up first to get it out of the way as quickly as possible. Especially if there's like 4 or 5 people, I got to run through it all. So I'm just like, oh, boom, 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 boom. So yeah, it's like I have it down to a science at this point. So yeah, I'm pretty used to it now. Like
content creation allowed him to show his love for anime freely and express himself, because in the time period that he grew up in, it wasn't cool to like anime, so he kept his love for it very low key. He kept this facade up until the woman he regularly came into contact with at college would give him compliments on different anime clothing that he would wear. This will be the start of many things in Heavenly's life that changed, all based on a reception from women.
No, when I was in school, it wasn't cool to like anime, so I was low key with it. Like once again, when I was in school, all my friends were girls. I just hung out with like 20 girls, and they're just like, oh, haha, whatever. So I'm just kind of there. What really got me in all this stuff is that was the only opportunity where I could actually express myself. This was even why like I was in a lot of sports in school, because all the boys were just wanted to be in sports. So I was in all these sports just to hang out with all the boys. And so, I mean, I became very athletic as a result, but I was never really that into sports. It wasn't until I started making content where like I really started to actually like, and once again, it was meant to be private originally, but then as it became more mainstream, I'm like, okay, I guess it's cool now. Especially once people started coming up and recognizing me. I'm like, oh, so you think this shit is cool. So then I would just start wearing like, you know, anime graphic tees to school. Not even just guys, even girls. You know, I like your Naruto shirt. So like, that was the thing that I learned. I was like, oh, so y'all all like this shit. Y'all just being low key with it. Now everybody likes it to the point to where it's just being shoved down my throat so much and oversaturated that like, now I kind of don't give a shit.
Where did it all go wrong? I can't pinpoint the exact moment, as I would have to be there to experience it firsthand, but here are some quote-unquote symptoms of his downfall. There's no denying that lustful desires play a huge role in Heavily Controller's undoing. Dating back to 2015, we saw signs of someone being what we would call a quote-unquote gooner, or an incel in today's age. Starting with the name of his community, the quote-unquote thick squad. I mean, just look at this merch. You couldn't pay me to walk around in this. I don't know how he does it, but Heavenly somehow found a way to shoehorn in some form of sexual undertone or innuendo in almost every aspect of his life and content. From the lewd thumbnails of his videos, which showcase fan-made art of big bosom anime girls, to his weird reactions to female characters, it was easy to guess what his problem was. He is insanely perverted. The man even dropped freaky pictures of anime anime girls on his Patreon regularly before he stopped using it. And don't ask me how I found this out, I'm really just a federal agent. In January of 2018, while reacting to the addition of the new Majin 21 to Dragon Ball FighterZ, overcome with lust, he said something downright disgusting that caused me to view him in a different light.
So, even though I don't have to prove to you guys that I was one of the first people to get on that Android 21 thickness, because I have videos to prove back as a track record, but we're not even gonna talk about that. I'm perfectly fine with other people trying to steal my waifu because that just makes me want her even more. That's the thing you gotta do. If you want somebody to want you, go make them jealous by getting with somebody else. And of course, one of the best things about this character from the first time when she was announced in her lab coat, and I made a video on that, and I teased that I would be doing this as well after seeing Majin 21, is the fan art, because the fan art adds an extra texture to this character that no single game developer could ever do. You've got the lolly versions, the thick versions, the yandere versions, the buff versions, just so many different varieties. It's more than I could ever ask for. You know that I'm dedicated to this character when I commission artwork to be drawn for her. You know what? I'm gonna slap that shit on a shirt. Boom, there it is.
Those who aren't familiar with what lolly is, it's a genre of fictional media which focuses on young or young-looking girl characters, particularly in a sexually suggestive or erotic manner. So you can guess that being attracted to this form of media in any way, shape, or form is inexcusable. I can understand putting on an act for your audience, but this is just going too far. Just look at the pictures in the background. Bro is 1000% addicted. As far as when exactly this type of gross behavior spilled over into his personal life, no one knows for sure. But according to comments from many of his supporters, it may have all started at the peak of his fame. A lot of these fans who were around from as early as 2017 slowly started to see Heavenly's content change. What started off as just reactions and gaming content turned into convention vlogs with cosplayers and other women sprinkled in. Not saying that this was necessarily a bad change, but it opened the door for everything that could necessarily go wrong to go wrong. Reactions were still there, but fans of him clearly saw the path that he was heading down. This is also around the same time he got into a relationship with a cosplayer turned OF model named Elizabeth Rage, who would show up in his videos from time to time. From the looks of it online, the two had a pretty healthy relationship, but as things unfolded, I realized that you can never truly believe everything that you see online. Elizabeth's profession combined with his level of notoriety provided him access to women who I'm sure he would have never expected to look his way without his clout. Like his seemingly out of the blue friendship with famous adult film star Violet Myers, who appeared in one of his many salacious videos in 2021. Heavenly's interactions with Violet online and in person gave off sort of a I got friend zone but I'm okay with it dynamic. I mean, just look at these screenshots. While I do not think platonic relationships between men and women are necessarily bad, I believe that in certain situations, shame must eventually take over because this is sad. Overall, I believe these two relationships did nothing more than feed his already inflated ego. In relation to ego, I've always heard the statement that Heavenly's ego was the biggest cause of his failure, but I've never really figured out what they meant. That was until I went back in time to the start of what I would like to call his main protagonist arc. Yes, Heavenly Controller refers to himself as the main protagonist. I'm not joking. Just check his TikTok bio. But this cringe-inducing persona was years in the making. He dyed his hair, often tweeted about it every day, used it to clap back at naysayers, mentioned it in videos on almost every platform, and even changed his name on Twitter to Crown Leader. What probably started off as a joke or an act for his audience turned into real life as he completely ran with it. Are you aware of the level of narcissism required to develop a brand new sense of self? Just listen to this clip of him speaking how he views people in the world around him.
That's why I'm like, when people try to talk to me, it's like, I don't think y'all understand how much I read. I'm smarter than all you niggas. Like, you know, most people who've never read a single book, it's like, I literally just do that. Like, even to this day, I just read 24/7. So I'm just like, I've consumed so much information that I see outside the matrix. Every person that I meet is just playing out some archetype. They're just playing out some version of a character that I read. So to me, it's just like the whole thing's a game because I see the storyline, you know?
His very nature has led to him getting flamed on Twitter on multiple occasions for how seemingly self-absorbed he behaves. When Etika passed away in the summer of 2019, Heavenly posted a picture of Luffy, the main character of One Piece, being pushed forward to persevere by the spirit of his deceased brother Ace, basically saying that someone said this is me and Etika. This was met with lots of scrutiny and deemed as insensitive, leading people to question why he found a way to make Etika's passing about him. This tweet, of course, has since been deleted. Another small instance was the infamously cringe-worthy picture that Heavenly posted on Twitter, comparing himself to Ken Kaneki, the main character of another anime called Tokyo Ghoul. But it didn't stop there. Heavenly will refer to himself in third person on occasion, saying that he's quote-unquote cosplaying as Heavenly Controller, and constantly brings up being in a harem. A harem is a kind of story in Japanese anime and manga where a male character is surrounded and loved by many female characters. So he likened his famous life of being around many women all the time to that of a main character in an anime. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what I would like to call peak delusion. Just think about how many of these women he probably took a random picture with, not knowing he truly thought of them as additions to his collection. I saw a comment under the video used in the intro that perfectly describes how Heavenly and Anthony got to this point. It says bro immersed himself so deep into the anime culture, he no longer sees anime as entertainment, but as a way of life. He deadass would correlate everything to anime. Based on what I've seen of his content, this is as close to an answer as we will get. On August 18th, 2021, Heavenly Controller faced multiple allegations of sexual misconduct. The initial accusation came from a cosplayer named Kimi, who claimed that in November of 2019, at the age of 18, she met Heavenly, aka Anthony, who was in his mid-20s at the time. She alleged that prior to their encounter, he pressured her into drinking alcohol and hid behind a wall waiting for her while she was in the bathroom. When she got out, he then made unwanted advances towards her, which included forcibly kissing her. This situation was shared in detail on her Twitter profile and in a lengthy TwitLonger titled "What Happened Between Anthony, Heavenly Controller, and I." I'll link the full TwitLonger for you guys to read because it's a lot of supporting information to dissect, and I'll just be briefly going through the important parts. A day later, on August 19th, another woman on Twitter by the name of Emmy Banks accused Heavenly of more inappropriate behavior. In her own TwitLonger that has since been deleted, she alleged that Heavenly essayed her while she was asleep and kissed her without consent. This post also says that Heavenly first connected with her on TikTok, and from there they interacted on Twitter. These allegations contributed to a growing discourse on social media regarding Heavenly's misconduct, with the vast majority of everyone going against him. Of these people was none other than his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Rage, making a tweet saying, "To those coming forward about Heavenly, I see you, I believe you, and I've been you. I'm so sorry it happened to you too." It feels like right after his ex, someone who's been around him or probably was a victim, spoke out. It was the beginning of the end. This is when things got really bad. So bad to the point that Heavenly quickly hopped on stream to defend himself, and it completely backfired. The goal of the stream was to provide transparency and assert his innocence, but it only served to do the opposite of that. Throughout this entire stream, he often stuttered and stumbled over his words, struggling to find the right response to these claims, to the point where he seemed like someone having a hard time coming up with lies on the spot.
This is so weird talking about this. But like, I don't know, man.
To make things worse, Heavenly first says that he never tried to kiss Kimi at all, but a few moments later he says that he might have tried to, but she pushed him away. Sounds like a horrible job at lying if you ask me.
I kept trying to get away from him, but he started to kiss my face and tried to kiss my mouth, but I pushed him away. I definitely did not, I did not kiss her at all. I did not kiss her at all. No part of, I did not kiss any part of her body, none of that. We were up there for maybe 5 minutes. I probably did try to kiss her, and then she stopped me, and then I stopped. I didn't actually, whatever.
There are also two instances she mentions about Heavenly and his supporters adding Kimi to his harem, which he denies. This, of course, is not surprising to me.
And they also encouraged the relationship between us and continued to say that I was part of his harem now. None of that is me. That's literally just people leaving dumbass comments. And so I don't know how is that even relevant to anything that I've done. I did not tell anybody to do that or whatever. People, they do the same thing to me. Literally every time I post any girl for any reason, they're going to say that. I'm not telling people to say that stuff. From the beginning, Heavenly kept telling people I was joining his harem and that he owned me. Absolutely ridiculous. No, I definitely never said anything like that. That's ridiculous. Not even as a joke. I don't even say that kind of stuff as a joke.
Last but not least, he admits twice to grabbing Kimi when they were alone, clips that people still use against him to this day.
Anthony was hidden behind a wall outside of the view from the bathroom, snuck into a corner and grabbed me by my waist and held me against his body. Okay, wait. I wasn't hitting any wall. I do remember, so there was a time when I grabbed her when we were alone. It wasn't when we left though. It was there was a time where we were leaving this club, and it was me and her friend. They dropped me off at my Airbnb. Just me and her go up to my Airbnb to I can't remember if I was just being dropped off. Cause why did she go up with me? I don't remember. He dropped me off at my Airbnb and then she went up with me. Then that's when I did that. I did do that. But when we were leaving, I didn't, no. Bro said in the stream, he grabbed her without consent. I mean, it's like any like grabbed her without her consent. Like, what is that? Like, it's not like I attacked her. Like, I literally, like she said, I grabbed her waist. I did grab her waist. And she said she eventually, like I grabbed her waist, and then like we were like that for a minute. And she wasn't like pushing away or anything like that. Then eventually she did, and like that whole instance only like lasted for maybe like we just had like a normal conversation or whatever.
After probably realizing that the stream was a bad idea, he quickly ended it. Following this, Heavenly denied all accusations and said that it was irresponsible to hop on stream to face these allegations without a plan.
All right, first and foremost, to anybody who was indirectly affected by the situation because of their associations with me, I take full responsibility for that, and that was never my intention. And if you choose to distance yourself from the situation or me because of that, I completely understand. I would and have done the same. As for any of these allegations of me not abiding by someone's consent, I have not and will not ever do anything like that. That is not in my character. When I did that stream, in my head, I was trying to be honest and trying to be transparent because I had nothing to hide. But now I know, because of the advisement of people around me, that that was irresponsible of me, and I was not very concise in what I was saying and literally just throwing words out to be picked apart and scrutinized on the internet, and I should have known better, which is why that video is no longer available, even if people are going to take it and pick it apart, what have you. And I understand that regardless of anything that I say, there's going to be people who have already made up their minds about me, and I fully understand. You know, there's only so much that I can say. All I can do is tell you, speak from the heart, be real with you, the kind of person that I am, the kind of like person, what I'm about, and you can take it or leave it. I'm going to continue with my life and not address this past this point. So that's all I have to say on the matter.
It's funny how you said all this in 2020 about people being predatory at conventions, only for this to happen. You can't make this shit up. Heavenly would drop a video the next day on August 20th that was quickly deleted, titled "Please watch the whole video," where he talked in circles about these allegations and talks about his ex-girlfriend being a leech. In this video, he basically confirms what I said earlier and what many of his supporters have said for years. Picking up women he was never able to pull without clout boosted his ego.
People are probably gonna pick apart, take out of context and everything like that. I'm just going with my instincts, and still, even now, I feel like I gotta just be me. I know, like, I've consulted to people who are saying, you know, you need to stop responding. They don't care. They don't care how much sense that you make. They don't care how little evidence that all the other girls have. All of this stuff that's happening right now, this is nobody else's fault but mine. Like, I can say that. Like, this is me bringing all my shit, and it's affecting so many other people. So it's to the point to where, at this point, I owe it to my community. The main thing that a lot of people are getting mad at me about, people still, even now, will still disagree with me on this. I understand. I should apologize to these women for the things that I did, right? If these were actual victims, if there's some information that I'm like, oh, wow, wait, you know, that lines up. Shit happens. Like, I'm not saying everyone, like, we're not all predators. We're stupid. We do dumb shit. We're human. We make mistakes. I'm a human too. I make mistakes. I'm willing to admit to the mistakes, even if it's to make people happy and tell people what they want to hear. I do not care. I'm not going to lie, even if it's to my benefit. Say, oh, I'm sorry to the victims. There are no victims. My ex, same. She's gonna take advantage of everything like this. She's not gonna have any evidence of anything. She's just gonna say, I stand with you. Oh, she does all the time. That's on me. Like, I can admit to, like, I do dumb shit. I'm not acting like I'm this perfect person who just, like, has no flaws, makes no mistakes. Who I'm not, what I never have been, never will be, I'm not no fucking predator, bro. Come on, no. Like, in 2019, I was going to all these cons, and I can lie to myself. I can say, oh, you know, I'm networking, I'm doing all this stuff, but bro, wasn't talking to Elizabeth, and she was going to all these different states, to all these different conventions, and I was getting invited. Like, that was Anime NYC, I was invited as a guest, and we were even on the same fucking booth, which is crazy. But I was getting invited to all these different events, these cons and stuff. Some of them I probably, like, spent more than I needed to go to them, but like, I was in love with this girl, and I was running around and chasing after her around the whole fucking country. I am bad at flirting. Like, for me to even make any, like, physical contact in any manner with somebody, we have to have talked about it beforehand. I don't even care if it lacks grace. I will literally ask, or I will say, I'll have this conversation. I wouldn't know, I'm not good at that. I wouldn't know how to, like, just infer based off of, like, how they're looking at me or whatever. I'm not good at that. Like, I have to ask. I will literally, like a fucking dumbass, I'll be like, hey, do you want to have sex? Like, but like that's just how I am. And me, you know, when I went live in that first instance, I wasn't concise with my words and I'm just saying stuff. I'm just repeating things that I'm reading. People were saying, oh, you admitted to grabbing her. I took her hands and we had a conversation. I did not physically move or impede the movement it wasn't from behind. I didn't do any of that. I literally had a moment. We were alone, took her hands, we talked. There was no like, oh, this doesn't make me comfortable, blah, 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 blah. No, it was like, oh, I'm nervous. And then she drank some water or whatever. And then we talked. I was like, oh, I want to see you later, like maybe tomorrow or whatever. So, oh, okay, that was it. There's so many opinions that people have of me, but I don't like being painted in this way.
This response was truly the nail in the coffin for Heavily Controller. Around the same time, the DreamCon Twitter account, which is run by RDC World, spoke out against all forms of sexual misconduct and permanently banned Heavily and pretty much everyone associated with him from all events moving forward. The situation also drew reactions from Heavily's friends and associates, notably his friend and fellow content creator Long Beach Griffey, who expressed his support for Heavily on Twitter. However, Griffey's comments, particularly his statement, "Let's hold victims accountable who don't verbally say no," as well as a skit about SA victims, were met with significant backlash from the online community.
And y'all not gonna want to hear it, but let's hold victims accountable that do not verbally tell men no. Let's hold women accountable who do not verbally tell men no. If you lack social cues and you don't pick up on body language, listen.
We all can admit it was a horrible way of trying to defend this behavior. The mental anguish caused from all of this led to Griffey even breaking down and crying on Twitter Spaces.
He was speaking based on emotions. He didn't know what to fucking do. I don't know what to fucking do, but the only thing I can fucking do in this situation, and it fucking hurts, bro. This shit fucking sucks because I fucking know that man, bro. I fucking know that, bro. I fucking know that man. And this nigga's not a fucking predator. Y'all got me fucked up. Y'all got me fucked up.
Another friend of Heavily, Afro Senju, also gives his stance on the situation. In this video, he perfectly explains how the way Anthony approached women ultimately led to Heavily Controller's downfall.
The one thing that I said, the one fault that he had with all the women that he tried to get with from what it seems on the outside, he didn't try to get with any of these women as Anthony, but as Heavenly. And that is a big problem that even every content creator, like, if you spit in game, my nigga, please disassociate who you are on the internet with who you are offline. Find yourself, please. Please find your fucking self. Just because you got some clout don't mean that you're this shit. If you know you were a lame nigga before this shit, chances are when the facade is taken away, you still a lame nigga.
What's funny is that Afro apparently apologized privately to Heavily in DMs for these comments. I'm kind of mad that he walked back on what he said because he wasn't wrong at all. On August 23rd, 2021, Heavily dropped a TwitLonger of his own titled "My Final Statement," where he reiterated all of what he said before, but a little bit more articulated. If he had waited to drop this, who knows how different things would be. To make matters worse, he did the most Heavily Controller thing you can do before dropping this by changing his profile pic to Naofumi Iwatani, the main character of the anime The Rising of the Shield Hero, who faced false allegations of the same nature from a woman. Not even hating, but this has to be the most glazing shit I have ever seen. The difference is that Naofumi was actually a true victim of false allegations, which he eventually proved. Bro really thinks he's the main character. But as of now, there have been no public legal proceedings against Anthony relating to any of these allegations. But people are saying he's guilty based on these things. Allegations from multiple women, including his ex-girlfriend, supporting the woman who spoke out. Heavily basically admitted to grabbing Kimi in an impromptu live stream on the same day, which, like I said, was basically the nail in the coffin. He had to make 2 other videos where he talked in circles trying to defend what he said, but the damage was already done in that live stream, and it was overall a bad move on his part. And then we got the insane allegations against his friend Minikon around that same time of essaying a woman at a party where he apparently followed her around. Where Heavily fits into this situation is him apparently defending Minikon while still having allegations of his own. That made him guilty in the eyes of many. People are saying that Kimi's allegations are false and have no ground to stand on based on these things. Kimi was interacting with him on Twitter like a week or so before the allegations, and she said the encounter happened in November of 2019. So this led people to think, why would you still interact with a man who allegedly essayed you? She admitted to Heavily being a possible rebound if she were to break up with her then boyfriend, who she had relationship issues with, and she even continued a friendly / flirtatious relationship with him just in case. Plus, people said that she was quote unquote leading him on the whole time. Her saying that she was using him as a rebound and flirting doesn't dismiss the fact that Heavenly did not ask for consent when trying to make advances towards her. Consent can always be given and taken away. Simple. And last but not least, nothing has come of these allegations over 3 years later. I'm not saying that this didn't happen, but you got Heavenly claiming that these allegations were proven false when I haven't seen anything at all. Like, the man is out here parading that, you know, he's inevitable, that he lost followers and gained followers. Like, there was no charges filed for whatever reason, and I guess Kimi wanted to expose him on her biggest platform, which is Twitter. But in my opinion, based on the accounts of multiple women coming out, including his ex, I think he did whatever these women are accusing him of. I don't apply this logic to every single situation, but one woman speaking up is bad. However, when it gets to be multiple women, depending on the person, it's far past the level of fabrication. You ever heard the phrase, where there's smoke, there's fire? Yeah, they can't all be lying on the anime YouTuber who thinks he's the main character in some hentai heavily fucking controller, bro. Like, come on. Let's be real here. Especially with his very questionable digital footprint when it comes to women, like I talked about in great detail earlier. Nowadays, the name Heavenly Controller is pretty much infamous for this entire situation, and it's no question that it's left a stain on his legacy. His fanbase still has some people around who he calls his tribe, comparing them to people in the kingdom.
Amidst my career as an influencer and, you know, all the people that I met and everything like that, at the end of the day, it really comes down to like a handful of people. But at the same time, you know, I needed to go through all of the different quests that I went through to filter the diamonds through the rough, you know what I'm saying? So it was all a necessary process. I was able to find my people, you know? It's beautiful. Find my my tribe. And now that we've got all of our people, we shut the gates, right? There's only ever drama when there is a foreign object, foreigner, like amidst our ranks, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Rants like these are the norm for Heavenly, as he just yaps about any and everything. Just listen to him speak on who his biggest ops or enemies are.
you know the revelation that I came across, actually, Rodney? Because of the person that I am and the lifestyle that I live, you know, a lifestyle surrounded by bad bitches, right? I can't really have other niggas around me. Niggas can't handle being around bad bitches, bro. They don't know how to handle themselves. They don't know how to carry themselves. They don't know the etiquette. The only kind of men that can be around me and my hoes are either they have to be more sexually fluid, or they have to be really close with me. Otherwise, they're compromised. My biggest op is straight men. You got all these people, they think women are the enemy. The enemy is men this whole time. Because once I removed all the men out of my life, suddenly there was no more issues. Suddenly all the hoes are happy.
To everyone's surprise, sometime in 2024, Heavenly Controller had his YouTube channel permanently terminated for copyright infringement. So for everyone thinking it had something to do with the allegations, they are completely wrong. Here's his explanation of it.
Yeah, so what happened was I would always use copyright-free music in my videos so that they could stay monetized, right? I would a lot of times use anime music in my videos because anime music at the time, anime wasn't as mainstream as it was now. There was a lot of anime music that I was able to use. As it became more mainstream and all these different licenses and stuff like that, like I was already getting, even before it got deleted, I was getting hit by all this shit like all at once. It was like all at once, all these things like what it was Disney bought a lot of licenses. Like, and especially they bought the license to Bleach to bring the anime back. And I had Bleach music in a lot of my videos. They were just like, your whole channel's got to go. And they just took the whole thing down. So I couldn't even dispute it or anything. I didn't get an email or anything. Wow. Yeah, and my channel has been deleted like 5 times. So at this point, I'm like, that was just the final straw for me. I was just like, you know what? I'm over it at that point. Like, because YouTube was already like, had been dying for years already. So I was already kind of over it.
Heavenly will make another channel after this of the same name where he posts anime reactions and rants. His Twitter and Instagram are filled with some form of provocative or lewd material on top of random yap sessions about inner struggles, relationships, and anime. Like, his whole identity on the internet currently is basically a walking shitpost with getting high attached to it. It's gotten so bad throughout the years that at one point a fan said that he might have a gooning problem because every time he sees him tweet, it's something sexual related. Heavenly says that he makes these posts to spread awareness for mental health and some for engagement.
Like, even like, for example, like on my Instagram, people are like, oh, why is he posting these videos? It doesn't make any sense. But it's just like, I'll post the memes for the engagement, but then I'll also post videos of just like I posted this one video and it was from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And Chloe was saying like, you know, cause like Kim, she's all about the clout and the money and stuff. And Kim and Chloe is like, I just want to make memories with my sisters. Like all this stuff, if this stuff all goes away, and like I can always see, that's the thing too. I now have an eye for it. I can always see who the person is in a group of people or in a certain who's struggling. Like you can see like how, like it's almost like the people who online who are being the most quote unquote fake are the ones who are hiding the most. No matter how strong of a person you are, like I remember before I was a YouTuber, I would watch these YouTubers with millions of subscribers, and they would still be like getting stressed out about hate comments. I'm like, why would you care? Like, don't you get these all the time? But it's just like, no matter how successful you are or how often it happens, you're still a human. It still affects your mental health. And yeah, like that's something that like even for me, I've had to tell myself as well, because like I like to be like, oh, nothing doesn't faze me, but things do faze me, you know what I'm saying? Like if I know that, oh, okay, this video is going to have a lot of negative comments, I'm not going to read them. I'm not going to put myself in that situation, you know?
As expected, there are also people who have grown to hate Heavenly over the years for his antics, happy that he quote unquote fell off, which is understandable. He responds to these insults basically saying that he was never quote unquote on to fall off, and that these naysayers would have to be on to have an opinion on him in the first place. As much as he probably hates to admit it, Heavenly Controller is a cautionary tale of what happens when you let fame and money sway you from who you truly are. He came from humble beginnings, building a cult-like following for doing what he loved, only to turn into an egotistical, condescending, predatory hornball with main character syndrome. As someone who wanted to carry on Etica's legacy, you've done an absolutely horrible job. Before I go, I'll leave you with this. You only live one life, so live it in a way that doesn't ruin other lives. Again, I don't want you to think that this is a hate video or whatever, like a lot of people are gonna say. I'm just being brutally honest with as much truth that is publicly available. But that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's Fargo, and I'm out, man.